Hi everyone, welcome back to another house building video in The Sims 4. The house that I'm building today is it's sort of like a log cabin. Sorry, I can't talk today. It is a log cabin style build. It's more of like a modern take on one. I'd say it's more like probably built in like the 70s, 80s kind of building. And it's had a couple renovations over the years, nothing major, slight modernising, but it's got quite a lot of character, this house. The unique feature of the house as well, which you can see I'm building in a minute, is it has got an aquarium in it. With the new update that came with the farming pack, you can now put like fish and stuff in ponds. I think you could do that anyway, but it's just easier to do it now. But yeah, this is like an aquarium in the house. Ends up being quite a cool feature. The reason I put an aquarium in this house is, typically I'll put pools and stuff in these kind of houses, but I kind of wanted this house to have the theme that it was more of like a cozy house. And it maybe wasn't in an area where you'd necessarily spend as much time in the gardening, certainly not in a pool anyway. And that leads me on to like the inspiration for this house. So I was inspired while watching some YouTube videos of some houses in Colorado, actually in Aspen, Colorado. There was some massive like log cabins that were like millions and millions of dollars. And I saw them and I just thought they looked really cool. They were definitely more like your traditional log cabins, but they were quite modern as well. They were obviously mega mansions, so that's why they were so expensive. But those like houses, like, this isn't supposed to be like an Aspen style Colorado log cabin, as it's quite hard to recreate them in The Sims, only because you could probably do it with custom content, but because I don't use custom content, I'm limited in terms of what I can use for like beams and stuff. Therefore you can't get quite as many like wooden beams, so it doesn't look quite as realistic if you tried to completely recreate it, which is why I went for my own kind of style. So although the title of this video will probably end up being building a Colorado log cabin, it's not specifically a Colorado log cabin. That was just the inspiration for it. It ends up being like my own take on one, or how I would do it in The Sims anyway. Ends up being, actually surprisingly, quite a reasonable sized house, which is different because normally I build like these mega mansions. Obviously I've built small houses as well, but my preference is to build like these mega big mansions. And this house isn't small, don't get me wrong, but the actual living area of the house is on the it's on the first and second floor. The ground floor of the house is pretty much occupied by a garage, a cinema room, and a bar area. Again, this is probably like the last house I built, probably quite a good party house, but it's also would be a really good family house. And that room that's got a bar in it, you could definitely convert that into more bedrooms, maybe like a home gym, a playroom, whatever you really want to use it for. The reason I made it a bar is because it backs onto like the aquarium. There's not a lot of natural light in that room. There is some because this is like a split level house, so one hand side of that bar does have windows out into the garden area, but it is still it's supposed to look like it's underground, which is why you can see all the rock work that I built as well. If you're wondering where the rocks come from, and also the fence that I'm placing right now, they're actually from the debug menu. You have to enter a cheat called show hidden objects, and once you've entered that cheat, it will give you access to a wider catalogue basically. I use it in quite a lot of my builds. I feel like the objects in that menu are just a bit more realistic, and most builds, when you're not using that cheats menu, the landscaping always looks very square, very angular, but landscaping in real life isn't like that, it's more curved, and the only way you can do that is to use that cheats menu. Just adding some more fences around. The fence at the front here where you got the cars parked, it doesn't work. You can't really go into that area. In fact, I don't think there is a way into that area where that car is, because the garage door doesn't work and there's a pond in the way. If you can go in the pond, then you might be able to get to it, but because of I put a fence in the way, you probably won't ever be able to get to that area. Well, you can if you delete certain things. It's up to you really. But yeah, this house does have, ends up having 4 bedrooms, ends up having an outdoor gym area, ends up having an office, and the master bedroom is really nice in this house. It's on the very top of the house in its own little area, and it's got 2 walk-in wardrobes and a massive bathroom area. The other thing that ended up turning out quite well is because the house, most of the downstairs area is occupied by like the bar / cinema garage, but it gives the house quite a small feel because you wouldn't spend that much time in the bar room unless of course you're having a party. Likewise, you wouldn't be in the cinema unless you're watching a film, which you don't do all the time in The Sims. So the actual playable area of the house ends up being quite cosy and small. Obviously all the bedrooms are on this floor, on the ground floor, but they're in that like a separate wing, and they've got a lot of natural light because they're not built into this underground area. It's quite hard to explain at the moment, but as we get into the video, it should make sense what I'm saying. And if it doesn't, then I guess if you download the house, it might make more sense. But I don't know. It depends if you like this style of house. It's definitely not for everyone, but I think this is a really nice style house. The way I furnished it was like, I wanted it to be quite luxurious, but I didn't want it to be over the top. So if it was me personally, I'd probably change some of the furnishings. But I find with like, especially like if you're building a movie theatre room in this game, it's really hard to make them look good because there's no specific movie theatre objects. You don't have like the big movie theatre sofas that you normally get. So it can be a bit frustrating. And that's one of the other things I wanted to talk about actually. I find that a lot of the items in this game are a bit too small for kind of like the style of house that I build. So like for example, the beds, they're all the double beds are the same size. And when I'm building a big house like this, I want a massive king size. I don't want a small regular double. I want the biggest one. And it's the same with like the sofas. I don't necessarily want just a standard 3-seater. I want like a big comfy 3-seater. And there's nothing really in this game. Like you can obviously enlarge objects, but if you try and enlarge a sofa, it will look too big, so there's no like in between. So I guess that's one thing I'd like to see more of. I don't think it'd happen in The Sims 4, but I'm hoping in The Sims 5 it starts to happen. If The Sims 5 is ever coming out. But to be fair, The Sims 4 has got to a point now where I am really starting to enjoy building houses in it, especially with the platform tools. That's probably my favourite part of the game now, is just being able to use the platforms. Bit of a weird thing to say, but I don't know, they just add a lot more to your house. Like even in the bar room, for example, having the DJ booth on a stage, it just looks so much better than it not being on a platform. Yeah, as we go upstairs, you see there's quite a lot of dark colours in this house, and as I say, it's not like an oceanfront property. It's not a California mansion. It's supposed to be in like the mountains and the woods, hence the dark colours, but it's quite cozy. My least favourite part about this house, it's not my least favourite part about the house. It's not like I dislike this part, but the kitchen is an awkward shape. I quite like the fact that it's that shape because it's quite quirky, and it's a very practical kitchen. But if you're someone who likes to play a lot of the game in the kitchen, this kitchen doesn't have a lot going for it. But I think the living area / dining area more than make up for it. And it is one big open living kitchen dining area. But they're like in their own spaces, so you're not on top of each other when you're in there. Ends up being quite a nice dining room. Dining room ends up being quite big, but I just think the table looks really nice centered in the room. And when the fireplaces are on, it looks like a really good room, if I'm honest. I don't think the orange is going to be for everyone, and this room ends up being quite an orange room, especially when the sofas go in, because you'll see the sofas go in, and they are bright orange sofas. I was going to put the Chesterfield in that came with the new pack. If you don't know what a Chesterfield is, it's a type of sofa. If you go on, it came with the new farming lifestyle pack. is it Cottage Living, I think it's called, that one. Comes with a Chesterfield. Google Chesterfield because it's too difficult for me to explain what they are. But if you know what they are already, they are really nice sofas. So yeah, I was going to put that in, but typical, Sims, like I couldn't really get it to match anything. And then just building the study off here. Quite a nice study. The cool thing about the study is it's in this like hallway area. I didn't bother putting a door in it because I wanted it to be like, it's a shared study, like it belongs to the house, but it is quite close to the master bedroom. So if you come down from the master bedroom, you just walk into your office. Don't know if I would personally like that, but then I guess at the moment I wouldn't mind because I'm working from home. But if I was in an office, I would probably choose to go to the office all the time. At the moment I do work in an office, but I'm in like a hybrid role, so I can work in an office or work at home. And to be fair, I prefer to work. I like to work from home if I'm working by myself, but if I'm with other people in the office, it is better to be in the office, but it is what it is at the moment. So it might change, it might not. Just add in some more decorations. Those, I noticed I use them quite a lot in the last house as well. They're like the memorabilia decorations, like the movie props within the frames or costumes. They're one of those decorations where I always forget they're there because they're quite high up in the menu because they're not that expensive, and the colour swatch is of that item is quite, like the one that you see in the catalogue isn't the best framing of it, so it's only when you go through the different colour swatches have they got the different ones. So like the one with the guitar in the frame, for example, and as you scroll through the swatches you'd never see that in the catalogue. So it's kind of like a tip there, I guess, if you didn't know they existed. They do exist. Yeah. But yeah, just I furnished the master bedroom before I actually put the wallpaper in, which is a bit strange because normally I wouldn't do it that way. But anyway, yeah, that kind of wraps up the video, I guess. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.